Singapore is aiming to be a city in nature, but yet we are one of the world's most stressful and fatigued countries. Does nature really help with mental health?
Let's talk about it.
Hi, welcome guys back to the Rooted Minds podcast. Today with us, we have a very special guest. Okay, this guest, right, he's actually an outdoor educator and a forest therapy guide. So he's none other than Mr. Kian Seng. Okay, let us welcome Mr. Kian Seng to the podcast.
Hi everyone.
Right, so Kian Seng, I understand that you started off as an outdoor educator, right? So then you founded kind of a kayaking venture, right? So from there, you actually went on to going about forest therapy. So what actually kind of motivated you or inspired you to go into forest therapy?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the journey on a environment education path is actually very dynamic.
Right.
So we hope to encourage pro-environmental behavior, be aware about what's going on around the world. So I have been doing it through like nature walk, kayaking cleanup. So that is actually at the moment you're aware and you feel motivated to do it. But how extensive the impact can influence a person to have a mindset shift or the call to action to do more, I realize it's very much dependent on the relationship building with nature.
Right.
So I've been trying to find a way, how can I better curate a program that look into engaging them at the heart level, not just the head level.
Right.
Yeah, because when we go for nature walk, we'll tell you, okay, what species is that tree are? And a lot of scientific knowledge, a lot of content knowledge. But the gap I feel is really how do we connect them heart to the space, to the time, to yourself, and to the more than the human world.
Right. So that means when you started off your career, like you went from an environmental conservation kind of route. Then you slowly recognize that people can appreciate nature better when they are able to connect to nature. So that's when you kind of went on to forest therapy.
That's right.
Right. Okay. That's very noble of you. Right. So on the topic of forest therapy, maybe to give our viewers a better understanding, maybe could you give an explanation in kind of a layman's term what exactly forest therapy is? Yeah. So what does it mean to practice forest therapy, and what are the kind of benefits that come from it?
Sure.
Yeah.
So forest therapy is a relational practice, and it's inspired from a Japanese practice called the Shinrin-yoku. Shinrin means forest, and yoku means bathing. So literally bathing in the sense of atmosphere of forest. So in Japan, they have it in a way of including yoga, meditations, tea drinking, and they do research on it. Like before you enter the forest for the walk, they will measure your blood pressure, your cortisol levels. And after they come out, they will measure again. So in that aspect, you can really see a drop in blood pressure after the walk. And scientifically proven, and there's been a lot of research looking at how spending time in nature can also benefit us in emotional level, physical level. And example would be actually the stress. People feel more relaxed. And at the same time, when we are in nature, there is this theory, we call it the attention restoration theory. So when you go into a space that is natural, you are practicing relaxation effortlessly. So nature helps you to set into that dimension without you doing much. Because just being in nature, you feel comfortable, you feel relaxed, you feel calm. And we also can connect that to the principle of biophilia, how humans have been evolving. For most of the million of years, we have been spending time in forests. So when we get back to nature, we feel we are at home. Probably not so much for the more urbanized, we have been connected to the technology too much. So for them, maybe take a little more time, but I feel the transition for them will happen still. Yeah, perhaps about a matter of time. So in terms of the simple words to forest therapy, it's actually a way for us to immerse in nature, deepening our relationship with nature, and at the same time, it helps to benefit our emotional, mental, and physical health.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean personally, right? Like when I go down to the park, and sometimes I go for a walk, sometimes I go for a jog, right? I kind of feel that I feel these benefits they're talking about. Like after I'm done with it, I feel much more relaxed and much more like aware of myself. But I sometimes I really don't understand why this is so, because for example, when I go to work or go to school, right. I'll pass by greenery, I'll pass by gardens, but at the same time I don't feel the benefits, like because just now you mentioned something like biophilia, right? So does it have something to do with like like maybe our ancestors, or back then like a genetic kind of thing, like we are bonded with nature, so now in the future, kind of whenever we connect with nature, we feel more like less stress and everything.
Yeah. So something related to that, our ancestor. So in terms of human evolution, we have been very much in natural settings for millions and millions of years.
Yeah.
So about 99.9% of our human time is in nature spaces. So in that sense, biophilia plays that role, how our ancestors have come a long way from now how we are living our life. But also the benefit of nature is that there are also a stress reduction theory. So when you're in nature, it helps you to reduce your negative thoughts. So we have this rumination whereby sometimes you just think negatively, repeatedly. So when in nature, it helps to reduce that. Yeah. So in a way, there's a few areas of angles we can look at. What are the benefits? Yeah, in terms of emotional, in terms of mental, and of course physically, there are also way we can look at it in the sense that when we are having a walk, it helps to build your cardiovascular systems, breathing in the air. So in terms of chemicals, I'll introduce perhaps these natural chemicals that the tree emit. It's called phytoncides. So trees emit phytoncides. It's a natural way to help the tree to defend themselves from fungal infection. So when we breathe in this natural chemical released by the trees, we actually are able to increase our NK cell, meaning natural killer cells. And natural killer cells are actually known for its anti-cancer properties. So it helps us to actually build our immune systems. Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits that research have been actually established on it.
Right.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, maybe to give like a more I guess because you're giving very insightful in terms of the like explanation behind the science, right? But maybe to let our viewers know more about maybe an example of how exactly they can optimize their experience in nature, because I know for a fact that some people when they go out in nature, they don't feel the same benefits as I do. I don't know why, but naturally I just like to do it, and somehow I feel the benefits. It's a coping mechanism for me. But some people don't feel the same way. Right. So when they go down, is it because they are doing the wrong thing, or they are not paying attention to something they are supposed to do? So how will you advise people who want to learn the benefits of nature, but what steps should they take?
So I think you flow it very on point. How do we interact with nature? So in forest therapy, in the school of my training, there's actually a lot of forest organizations school around the world giving trainings. So where I'm come from, I'm actually trained by the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Guides program based in US. They are the pioneer. So in this training, we are trained to actually conduct the session, facilitate the session with a clearly defined sequence. So this sequence has been reviewed over time through many hundreds of walks. So this sequence helps us to provide a structure to experience nature. So for example, if I introduce you the term we call it invitations. So in this sequence, we have invitations to help people to immerse and transcend into a space slowly and deepening the interactions. So these invitations are very open. So we don't have any expectation for the participants to feel. It's actually how they are at the moment. So there's a saying as such, nature is the therapist. The guide opens the door. So we curate the sequence based on the space that offers. Also in line with perhaps the profile of the participants. So in this standard sequence, we start with engaging and awakening the senses, the 5 senses, through prompts, and then through some standard invitations and some partnership invitations. So in this sequence, we refer partnership invitations by the creativity of the guide according to the space. So the standard invitations are very much like a template. We'll do this standard 1, 2, and then partnership, close off with a tea ceremony.
Wait, so you mentioned about invitations and ending off with a tea ceremony, but why do nature therapy sessions end with a tea ceremony? Because most tea ceremonies I know is like in wedding setting.
When we immerse in nature for a while, we might lose track of time. So the tea ceremony is to bring us back to the present moment, to have conversation, to share, and to close the session before we transit. Yeah, it's otherwise I bring you to somewhere so deep and then I just go off, then we might be lost in that time. So there's actually a lot of thoughts involved.
So it's like a debrief kind of thing.
Bring you back to now. Yeah, because during the sequence, during the immersive experience, we do it very slowly. There's sharing session involved. When we talk about sharing, that's also one way. It's good to go for a guided walk sometimes, because in the session, the guide facilitate a session with a few people involved, so there are sharing involved.
Right.
So the conversation actually are quite powerful for you to be aware or realize different perspective.
Wow, sounds super complicated. It seems that there are a lot of steps to the structure to gain the benefits of nature therapy. So is it even possible for a person that is doing it alone to have an easy way of achieving those benefits?
In forest therapy or forest bathing walk, there's no right or wrong way. It's depending how and what your body calls for. Everything is welcome. But I feel there's a few things we can take note is that we have to perhaps take time, do it slowly, using our senses to engage with nature. So for example, from point A to point B, could be a 500-meter walk. Do you walk in a minute or do you walk in 10 seconds? Maybe 500 meter too fast to walk in 10 seconds.
500 meters, 10 seconds.
So maybe I will proportion that a bit more. Okay, perhaps from this space where I am seated on, and I walk towards you and Matthew. All right.
That's 2 meters.
Yeah, so I could take perhaps 10 seconds to reach you instead of just 1 second.
Right.
I can do it very slowly.
Right.
I can circle around the table slowly and then walk to you instead of just wanting to reach you.
But in a natural environment, not in this podcast setting.
So the ideology I'm trying to cite is that how do we travel, at what pace, in what manner, plays a part in the experiences.
So what you mean is that the key for us to experience the benefits of nature is for us to actually slow down and observe our surroundings.
Yeah.
Actually, it's like so cool that because you were saying like a guide introduced you to like nature therapy, to forest bathing. But for Gabriel's case, he was saying like he uses like nature as a form of like relaxation, stress relief. But how do you like get in touch with nature, like knowing that nature has these benefits? Because like for me, nature is usually like what you say, Lord, to get to like another point. Like we usually won't like go down to like participate in activities like on our own. But for like Gabriel, I'm very curious like how you got in touch with nature, because like there's like art therapy and stuff like that. But nature therapy, I feel like not many people know about it. Like how do you all know about nature therapy?
Like no, I never knew about this concept of nature therapy. I just go down and I feel like it makes me feel better lor.
No.
So I think like what Kian Seng say is very kind of like experiential, based on your own personal preference, like what connects with you. Like I don't know how I did it, but last time I think back when I'm younger, my family would bring me down to the park, and then when I enjoy, right, then like I slowly got in touch with nature. I think it's a very natural thing. Kind of feels like the concept of nature therapy is also very closely linked to mindfulness, because you engage your 5 senses, right? And that's a little bit on self-awareness already. So I believe the concept of mindfulness is also very similar to that. So how exactly is like nature therapy and mindfulness different?
Okay, right. So in terms of the correlationship between mindfulness and forest bathing, that is perhaps work involved. Mindfulness look into work within yourself. Very much so about that non-judgmental awareness, as you say, self-awareness. In forest bathing or forest therapy's experience, that mindfulness is part of the whole. There are external environment that we are also engaging with. So you are doing something with nature
Right.
when your body calls for. And there's an element of sharing. So you talk to people, you share with people. And there's an element of activeness. So you could be playful, you could be looking at the water and you want to splash water. And by doing so, the contact with the water create the texture, that feeling. So, but as you do that, as you feel the water, how cold is the water is, how warm the water is, there's also the mindful
Elements,
involved. Yeah. But I feel the key difference is that in forest bathing, there is a lot of different collaborations with nature. Nature is the therapist that is helping you to feel better. Yeah. So if anyone who don't know how to do it, by just simply sitting there in a park, looking at the forest or looking at the flowers beside you, it itself is a way of enjoying the benefit of nature.
Oh, really? So I don't need to do anything in nature, but I will still get the benefits.
Yeah.
So how long does one person need to stay in nature in order to get the benefits? Let's say, give a gauge of 1 hour.
So when we talk about benefit of nature or nature therapy, I would say it's a practice. Yeah, you can perhaps in that 1 hour just do your work in nature, like in a park. You can read your book in a park, do your homework in a park. That itself, you are subtly enjoying the practice of nature. Because nature is so universal, you can hear the bird chirping, you can feel the wind brushing against your face. And it's actually very much able to embrace by all people of different abilities.
Is it like, I don't know about y'all lah, but what I feel is that the more that I have experienced nature, right, the more often I do it, the more I feel the benefits. As in, like, in each experience, it feels like I have like learned or connected deeper with nature, kind of thing. Like it kind of sounds a bit wacky, but like back then, last time I don't go down that often, but as I go down more often, I feel more inclined to go down. Then suddenly I feel more relaxed every time I come up from like my walk or my run in the park. Yeah, so I guess that shows that consistency is also a thing lah. Like the more benefits, you want more benefits, you gotta keep doing it. Kind of thing.
Yeah, and also it's a relationship building. Could be the more you go, the more love you are actually cultivating. And of course, you remember the feeling and you want to have that feeling more. It's like meeting your loved ones. Once you are in love, you want to keep meeting together. Yeah. So I think in terms of access to outdoor, you might not need to go too far. Yeah, you just look out from your window, the sky is nature already. And you could also be aware of the plants around your home. Yeah, yesterday I had a walk with 2 elderly on wheelchair user. Right. They're very much spending their time at home. Yeah. They can't move out as much as we want. But they shared with me that, I like to just look out from my window. There are a lot of trees outside my home. I like to do that every day in the morning. Yeah. So they themselves are doing their own forest bathing. Yeah, in their own way.
But would you say that there's a difference in like benefit in that case? Because like I don't know, I would imagine that because right now at home I have a few like potted plants. Yeah, I don't feel the benefits of nature at home. Like I maybe you can bring up that time we actually had the privilege to do a kind of a virtual nature therapy session with you.
Right.
So you brought us through like bringing. I remember there was one activity that you told us to bring one kind of item of different textures from the house, then one natural item, like this cactus over here, for example. They told us to feel the texture and then like feel how natural the thing is and why we chose this item, right? So it doesn't mean that to connect with whatever natural things we have at home, we have to just what we do in the park, sit down and slow down in order to connect. And would there be any difference in benefits in that case? Because I feel that in a forest or in a park, right, there's much more things that you can notice rather than being at home. Yeah.
So coming back to the sense of immersive experience, how immersive will you be with the type of environment you are? So in nature, there are called the awe of wonder, like AWE. You look at that immersive, expansive space, you feel, not sure if I pronounce it correctly, AWE.
Right.
You just feel wow. And And the thing is that you can still feel wow with looking at the plant. If that plant is really have that intricate details, colors that you feel amazed by.
Right.
So actually it's the attitude as well. Sometimes you can just look at something simple and you look amazing. How come that spider can make so delicate spider web just at your corner of the home? Yeah, so the noticing the intricate details, the appreciation of that sense, that being can play a part as well.
I think with the spider, I'll scream first before I notice the web and everything. Yeah, but yeah, I think you're right lah. So it's ready to slow it down and notice the details before we can fully experience the immersiveness of nature. Like in order to experience the benefits, you must go into it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but I do agree with you in a way whereby if you are in a space that is vast and there's a lot of biodiversity involved, of course the sense of the nature benefits is more.
More of the senses are engaged.
Yes, more senses, and of course the emotionally you are awakened. With the different elements of trigger points.
Right. I guess that shows why, like, even though, like, Singapore is supposed to be a city in nature, right, we are still one of the most stressful countries in the world. People don't slow down enough to look at the nature that's around us. Although it's such a abundant tool, or rather abundant guide that is around us, like the nature is the therapy, so we must pay attention more to the therapies around us.
And slow down, Could be the way of how we live our life.
Too fast paced.
And I think also very much dependent on your own belief and attitude as well. You might be in a very fast pace, but being mindfulness, being grounded, you can still enjoy the environment of a fast-paced country. But actually how you balance it then. So I think mindfulness has a very good way to hold us and calm us in using certain techniques. But forest bathing itself is you're working with nature, and nature is actually supporting you. And just take some time to give nature a chance and give your child a chance to receive all these benefits.
I don't know if it's true that, but actually I feel like it's possible to like replicate the nature scene into like urban areas, because I do know of some friends whom they were like if like they like beach, they like waves, then they will try to like replicate that at their house. So I don't know, using water somehow to make the sound of like waves. And actually that's what I would like to do. So if I were given the chance to like do up my house, like I will put up something about nature that I like maybe a picture of a view or something like that, because for some reason it just makes me feel very relaxed.
You're talking about like preferences, right? Like in terms of what kind of nature element you most connect with. So does that also apply to the natural environment, like not at home? Like later we get back to that, but like, so outside, right? Let's say I prefer going to the beach rather than going to forest, right? Do I get more benefits from going to the beach?
So the benefits comes from how we interact with nature and the space. How much biodiversity are there in that space for you to be awakened or interact with? So for example, when we talk about forest therapy, it's not just being in a forest. You can do that in any nature spaces. So you can still do forest bathing in maybe perhaps in Singapore, East Coast Park. But just looking out is okay. It's actually doing a way of bathing in the sense of the water environment.
So it need not be in a forest setting lah.
Yes. The point of being surrounded by nature is also helping our people receiving the benefits of on the emotional level. When we see nature around, we feel better, less stressful. So there are research done on how could there be an influence when you just look at a picture of greenery, a video on greenery, and that actually helps you to feel better and feel more relaxed.
Right.
So if your home environment is decorated with plants, visual that have nature elements, the scent of aroma, example, you put lavender,
scented candles like
diffuser, those also help, because what we are looking at is the interaction with nature using different senses.
Right.
And of course, how you interact with them will also add a different dimension to it. Yeah, so the benefits, whether is it more or less at different spaces, it's dependent on how you interact and what you interact.
Right. So Zhang, you like to go to beaches, right? Then, if at home I splash water at you,
Thank
then,
you.
then you feel that
I feel
benefit.
the connectedness.
You feel the water.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like the key is to find out like what you really love in nature, and then like you can explore like different places to really like go discover what you like.
Right. That's true. So actually I'm wondering, right, like in terms of for families, right, because I know that there are some young families out there, they are trying to get their children to go out more, right, because especially during this COVID-19 pandemic where they are more isolated at home, right, so people naturally turn to the next thing they can do, which is not go overseas because there's travel restrictions, so they'll go to like forests or the nearby parks around Singapore, you know. Yeah. So is there a difference in terms of like how much benefit a child can receive compared to an adult?
Okay, I think being human, the awareness of how nature can help us, there are various ways to do it. So if you look into the abilities, whether you're adult, you're a child, you are still receiving the same benefit of just being in nature, but how you interact. So perhaps if you're an adult and you are more adventurous, you can wander into the forest, and that forest setting gives you a different way of interpreting with nature. You might need to perhaps get into the muddy trail. Yeah, for our children, they also can get in the muddy trail. So, but that depends on the parents. Do they allow their child to be in an environment to get them wet and dirty? Comparing to another parent that bring them to a park, and that park they are having their shoes on, versus the kid in the forest without the shoes in the mud. So in that sense, is the interaction with nature that plays a part. Yeah. So if you look into whether is there a difference, then I cite this example. Yeah, how you bring your child out and do what. Yeah, there are benefits. It's just a matter of how immersive the experience is. So when we look at medication, when you are not feeling well, you are prescribed with maybe certain tablets, certain dosage, certain frequency of the time to take. So it's the same thing. So when you are in nature, how often do you bring your family out? How long is the visit in nature? How much interaction are you spending with nature?
So in that, actually quite interesting that you brought up like the comparison between like dosage and like medication to going to nature for like therapy, right? Do people actually like get prescribed to go to nature? Like let's say a person sees a psychologist or psychiatrist, like do they refer them to like a nature therapy guide like you, for example, to get them to learn how to interact with nature more or introduce it as a coping mechanism? Does that happen?
Right. So in US, the hospital, some of the doctors are actually working with forest therapy guide.
Right.
In part of their so-called prescription to help their mental condition. And recently I went to a polyclinic with my auntie. So she's having some emotional situation, and she had a drop in her weight. So I'm very grateful that I hear the doctor ask her, maybe you should go out for a walk more. Go out to nature to distract yourself from other unhappiness. Yeah. So with that, I think the doctors are also giving suggestion, spending time to nature. Yeah, but I would feel that is not on a formal arrangement with a forest therapy guide. They will maybe say, okay, maybe if you feel not well, you need some counseling. Okay, they can recommend you to a psychologist, which is more clinical based.
Right.
And then I think in terms of whether the follow-up include nature experiences, that one would probably be not so much in the mainstream as yet.
In Singapore lah, but overseas is like a medical practice in a sense.
There are
like,
some hospitals adapting and having collaboration with forest therapy guide.
You think that's the next step for Singapore?
I would feel that is a very good way, could be a next step, because there are also a lot of programming done in nursing home and elderly activity center. They have been activating and integrating horticulture therapy, which is widely practiced already in Singapore. How can we work with plants, even farming, community gardening, community farming is a way of getting in touch with nature.
Right.
And that itself is one example of nature therapy. There are so many types of nature therapy. Forest bathing concept is just one of which. Yeah. So I feel that in Singapore, there's many ways currently we are already doing, but perhaps it's intentional. Horticulture have a kind of template. First step, second step, third step. Example, put the soil in, put the seeds in, flower, as in put water to grow it. But in forest bathing, it's very abstract. We have an invitation for you to explore. Yeah, so there's no fixed details that you need to follow.
Right.
So I feel that it's dependent on how we integrate different elements. Because in a invitation of a forest therapy walk, I can also have the element of doing a potting session. But that potting session, I could just pass you the ingredient or material and let you play with it. Eventually, you want to do a pot or you just want to play with the soil, up to you. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think maybe we can go back to the topic of like children and how they interact with nature, right? Because just now you mentioned that forest therapy is a very like abstract concept. So in that case, right, for a kid, would it actually be more beneficial for them? Because I'm thinking like, usually kids don't really think a lot about what they are doing. Like they just do it because they like it or it's fun,
Right.
Yeah. So in that case, would it be like would they experience more benefits? Because just now I was asking like, would parents or like would adults feel the benefits more? But I think now that you mentioned that it's very abstract, right? Then I suddenly thought, yeah, actually they would experience more, right? Because they are going in with such an innocent heart, like they just want to do whatever is at hand. They are the most self-aware, right? So they actually don't have to be taught mindfulness and anything, right? They just have to be in the environment itself.
Yes, I think in children, the sense of perhaps creativity and what their body calls for, they will do it. When they don't feel good, they will cry or shout. They express it very well.
Right.
So when they want to do something, they just perhaps go and do. But I think it's how the adult or the family members can help create a safe space for them to do it. Yeah, the sense of risk assessments might not be as much as adult can look at the situation. Yeah, so the parents perhaps can help the kid to understand certain risks involved in that activity and help guide and let them have the sense of openness to play. Yeah, in a matter of how they want it. And at the same time, I feel that if you look into having families out for forest bathing, there are many ways they might be doing it already without them being aware. For example, a walk in botanic garden, bring the child to a nature play garden. So in Singapore, we have actually quite a few nature play gardens and therapeutic gardens.
I think that's not Jurong Lake, right?
Yeah, that's Jurong Lake.
Right.
And by just spending time there, that space have actually elements of design component with fragrant flowers that are more stronger in fragrance, more vibrant in colors, and there's element of play as well. Some have even like music instrument for you to create sounds. Yeah, so exploring in that space helps. Yeah. So if we were to look into how then can we help parents to plan an outing to visit nature and help activate the senses of the child or even themselves, then could be a bit of planning. Look around in Singapore. Where do you think your family preferred? Is it the seaside or is it the forest? And in that space, are there elements or different variables in terms of the ecosystems? If you visit Botanic Garden, you get to see a lot of colors, a lot of forests, a lot of wildlife. Example, monitor lizard crawling across the grass, the jungle fowl running across you, the swan lake moving around the lake. Yeah. So in that sense, you're helping to set up a space that help your family members be engaged with the different senses, comparing to just go to a park without the knowledge. Maybe that space is still beautiful, but the time spent at that space could be actually activated or more expositionally at another location.
Can be more immersive lah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel that you can still enjoy nature. The benefit is still there, but it's how immersive, how the moments are being curated for that moment to happen. The probability of you meeting a wildlife is more versus part A and part B. Yeah. So then it depends on your child ability, depends on your progression. Maybe for a start, you bring a child into a forest might be too quick. Instead of building that relationship, you might create a fear. Wow, scared. So could we do a layering, like maybe from a park to perhaps a nature reserve with more terrain that is not as concrete, and then to a more immersive environment. Yeah. So I think some thoughts in family planning in terms of visit nature spaces, that could be some thoughts involved.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you brought a very good point, which is like trying to ease the transition into nature, like for children, because I feel that like in now modern days, right, although Singapore is a city in nature, it's still very much a concrete jungle with nature. So there's gonna be elements of modernization along with nature. Like it's hard for them to experience like raw nature. So if a parent were to bring a child into like a very unknown environment, I feel that it would be very scary for them. Like sometimes even like when they get scared, they get phobia, then they don't want to go there, right? Yeah. So like then would you say that it's better for like children to, because now a lot of technology is like in households and everything, right? So are there like any challenges, like when for example you yourself, you run programs for children, right? Like is it hard to get them attentive or like immerse themselves in nature, because they might feel that the natural environment is not something they're used to, or they're bored, you know? Yeah. So how then should a parent, like, because they know the benefits of nature, right? They want to get their child into the concept of nature and experiencing the benefits. But if the child is not receptive to it, how can a parent encourage them to do so?
Spending more time, creating more opportunity to be in the outdoor. I think child, they have infinite ways to explore and play with nature. You give them a stick, they can find many ways to play with it. Right. Yeah, and sometimes when you walk along the neighborhood, you just see child hitting the snake. No, hitting the stick.
Oh, hey, it's scary.
Sorry, hitting the stick on the ground, on the grass, like playing with the leaf. Yeah. So in that sense, I feel it's the opportunity that you give to the child to be exposed to that environment. They will find their own ways to play with it.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a few concepts like child-led discovery, letting a child to go on and discover what they like to. But at the same time, we help to host a safe environment, letting them to know that how you play might also affect the environment. Like hitting the snake is not good. It's not okay. Yeah, maybe for them, I want to hit the snake, but what are the values we want to try to create? Respect.
Right.
Why do we want you to take care of the snake or not hit the snake? Or because of the respect for our wildlife.
And also safety.
Yes,
very important. Safety, very important.
So the analogy is that just now I mispronounced stick as snake, so I flow towards it. So basically, I think the concept is really when you allow the child to experience on their own, right, are we allowing them to play within a reasonable risk kind of setting? If the space have risk, it's okay to let them manage the risk, let them learn from it. But is it at a suitable level?
Right.
Yeah. At the same time, when we let them play, they will need to understand the consequences of their actions. Yeah. Not just perhaps see the beautiful spider, follow it, and then step on it.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the values need to be also crafted in the process. Teachable moments to talk to them. Oh, what do you think the spider is doing? What is this web? Is it okay you run across a tree when the web is there? Yeah. So understand the impacts they might be creating also. Yeah. Maybe. So in that sense, if you spend more time in nature, as you say earlier, you tend to feel better and you like to go down, visit the park more often. So the relationship building start from young is important.
Right. So along with like getting them to experience the benefits of nature, we also like introduce the real topics of the world, like so that they kind of have a better appreciation for nature.
Yeah, so that's the suggestion for family outings. Yeah, but if you like say just want to enjoy nature, you can just do it without teaching them the scientific aspects. Let them know the tree for the tree. Let them meet the tree and learn about the tree just by being there and making friends. No need to tell this is what tree, but perhaps observe the tree, how the tree is growing. Do you notice the shape of the leaf? Do you know the different wildlife that is on the tree? Do you notice any wildlife on the tree? I think this guiding question can help them to perhaps be more observant and able to notice better through the prompts that maybe the parents can offer.
And naturally they'll feel the benefits through these like observations and engagements with the nature.
I think that's a great point, because a lot of the parents I know, right, they'll bring their kids to those neighborhood parks, to nature, but the problem is they'll normally just find a bench, then they use their phone while their child plays in like the nature setting. So I think it's a very good point to have the parents be in that activity as well, teaching them and guiding them.
Yeah, I feel like there's actually a lot of like opportunities for like schools and families to tap into, especially on like exposing children on like nature therapy. Because like previously I had a very weird learning journey where we went to like secondary school students, we went to like primary school to teach them on how to make a terrarium. But the main purpose of making a terrarium was to teach them the science, the biology behind like how plants grow and everything. But like if only they could have like thought about like horticulture, it could have like exposed them to that topic of like nature therapy. And like I feel like it's really true, like exposing to like different methods. So like maybe gardening, farming, and then like you find something that you really like that you can repeatedly do at home. So like from there then you get the benefit of like nature therapy even at the comfort of your house.
I think that, but in that case, right, when you were like teaching those primary school kids about like about terrarium making, right, I don't think it's like you outright say like this is horticultural. Like it's like true, like what Kian Seng say, the guiding questions, right, like where they own self go and explore, when they own self engage themselves in nature, then that's when they feel the benefits of it. So but I agree that in that sense the system should be structured in a way that like prompt them more to feel what the positive benefits are and get them more engaged in like an immersive experience whenever there's nature involved. So for parents it can be like really, instead of just like, it's good to bring your kids down to the park and then like let them explore themselves, but as parents the role is to really guide them and like kind of elevate their experience in nature . But of course no need to be all the time . Sometimes can just let the kids to explore themselves, but from time to time I think it'll be good for parents to be able to guide and prompt them to be more observant about the different details of nature, right? Then I guess on that topic, right, on building mental resilience in a household, right, so I think nature is a very, very great tool to kind of get a habit from young for children, right, to turn to nature as a coping mechanism, like what I do. Because it's not like my parents back then, right, they told me, go down to the park, experience nature therapy, you'll feel phytoncides coming from the trees. No, they didn't do that to me, but now I feel like there's this great benefit from nature that I reap, and I'm very grateful for that, because my parents brought me down last time. So I think for parents it's good to bring them down and inculcate the habit from young. So, but would you say that if like a parent has never done this before and like the kid is already like 12 years old, 13 years old, that kind, would it still be suitable for the age range? Because the way I perceive it, right, when a parent brings down a kid is usually when they are in their younger days, like 6-7 years old, that kind.
A visit to a nature space benefit for everyone of different abilities and different ages.
Right.
So as an adult, you will receive all these benefits. You do feel relaxed, feel calmer. Perhaps even you might having a burnout of managing your child. You going down with your child also help you relax. And I think coming to the point about resilience, there's also a way we can look at nature therapy itself. If you expose them or teach them about like what Johnny mentioned about terrarium making, the concept of a seed growing to a plant and a plant to a tree is actually a way of learning how resilient a plant can be. You can also bring them to a space that you have noticed that how a tree actually grew out from a crack, or a plant is actually growing from a very interesting space that you don't think it will grow. It can still grow. Yeah. And observing your corridor plants, how it can grow from a seed to a tree that bears fruits and they harvest from it. It's teaching about resilience as well. But I think what we are looking at, this resilience in another angle, is like how spending time in nature can help you as well. When your core is strong, example, when you want to go for a marathon, you want to do training, and you need to have a strong core, stamina, then you can run faster. So if you look at resilience, you need to have a sound mind, a strong kind of subjective wellness. When your subjective wellness is relaxed, calm, then you can actually interact with whatever situation you have. Yeah, so I think spending time in nature helps you to maintain a healthy mental health condition, or help you even improve that mental health condition, so that when you are more relaxed, you can see things clearly, you're aware, you can know how to interact and manage the situation better. And that itself is a way of resilience building.
Right. Yeah, spending more time with nature. Ultimately, it just makes a habit lah. Yeah, so that way it is something that when the kids turn older, because everyone faces challenges in life lah. Like that's the whole point of resilience, is to build up, like what you say, a strong core, so that when life hits you with something, you're able to respond in a better way. Yeah. And I like what you brought up about like using nature as well as an analogy for parents to teach children about values and resilience. I think that's another great example lah. Like through the biology, like of how like the different natural elements interact with each other. For example, biophilia, you can teach them about teamwork. Yeah, like how fungus grows on trees, but then the trees provide nutrients and the fungus helps to fend off like certain diseases also. Yeah, so there's a lot of relationships in nature that parents can use to teach their children about, and it can really apply to real life. Yeah, so I think that's a great point. Yeah. Okay, so actually we have reached the point of the podcast where at the end of the podcast we'll always ask like the expert whether they have any final words for the viewers. So Kian Seng, take it away.
Okay, sure. So basically, I feel that there's a range of self-care support that we can seek for, and nature therapy is actually one of which. Forest bathing is a way to immerse in nature, and it's a relational practice. So as we are doing the different self-care, I hope to remind everyone that it's important also to have earth care. As we take care of ourselves, are we taking care of the earth? Eventually that support the fundamentals of humanity. And through a family involvement, through personal initiative, if we think about nature, I'm sure everyone will find a way to take action, to care for environment, and that's my hope for everyone.
Right.
To be healthy, and as well as living in a healthy planet.
Wow, okay. That's great. Yeah. So we have reached the end of the podcast. So actually, if you want to find out more about Kian Seng and his programs, we'll actually leave the link below in the description along with his email, so you can contact him if you have any questions. Yeah. So actually, at the end of the 5 podcasts, right, we actually have a Ask Me Anything. So do leave your questions in the link below as well. We'll try to get Kian Seng to answer any questions that you have as well. Yeah. So that's all for the podcast. If you enjoyed what you have watched today, please leave a like and subscribe, and stay tuned to the next podcast. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.